They better get these lines right. Hey folks, it's Zephyr Scalzetti. Welcome to They Better Get These Lines Right, where we're delivering the 411 on all things redistricting. Redistricting is our once-in-a-decade process of accounting for state-level population changes across the country to draw new district maps from the federal level to the local level, which makes an impact on how funding is distributed for healthcare, schools, roads, basically everything that's important to you. This show is made possible by Alabama Values, a grassroots communication organization that uses the media and visual stories to raise awareness around what's happening on Alabama's political scene. On today's episode, we're going to catch you up on the Allen v. Milligan case, formerly known as Merrill v. Milligan. So let's dive in. Right off the top, you may have noticed a little name change that just happened with a really important Supreme Court case about Alabama's congressional map. That case used to be known as Merrill v. Milligan, but it's now been updated to Allen v. Milligan. Don't be fooled by the new coat of paint, though. The reason for the change is to reflect the change in Alabama's Secretary of State from John Merrill to our current Secretary of State, Wes Allen. Just like a crummy apartment complex, changing the name didn't change a thing about the rotten foundations about this case, and it represents a serious threat to our democracy. So what's the fuss about? Well, Alabama has 7 congressional districts, and only one of them is a majority black district. That's a problem because 27% of the state is black. Now, I've never gotten an A in any math class, but I'm pretty sure that 1 out of 7 and 27% is just a little bit out of whack. Allen v. Milligan is about whether Alabama should have a second majority black district. In other words, whether our statewide map should reflect the racial makeup of our entire state. SCOTUS heard the case back in October of 2022, and we're expecting a ruling to come down any day now. Unfortunately, Alabama isn't new to this. They are true to this. Alabama is no stranger to having its maps dragged out in front of the Supreme Court. In fact, we're coming up on the 10th anniversary of Shelby v. Holder. Shelby as in Shelby County, our Shelby County. And that's a case that's famous for all of the wrong reasons. Back in 2013, the Supreme Court sided with Shelby County and threw out Section 5 of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Now, that's a lot of dates and numbers, but basically there was a list of towns, counties, and states that had to get their maps double-checked by the Department of Justice before those maps went into effect because, well, we all know why, because those jurisdictions had a history of discriminating against black people, indigenous people, Latine folks, and other marginalized communities. Shelby County was on that list, and they wanted off. What they argued was that the old Shelby County needed to be watched, but we're the new Shelby County, and we've never passed a map discriminating against anybody. And the Supreme Court agreed with them. In fact, the Supreme Court didn't just take Shelby County off the list, they threw away the whole list. Now, you know, over here at Alabama Values, we're going to make sure you have the 411 and an understanding of the facts. So yes, the Supreme Court did throw out the list, but the Supreme Court also said that it was Congress's job to make a new, updated list. Shelby County and the rest of Alabama should have gone on the new list, but for the last decade, Congress has avoided making a new list, and now Alabamians have had to resort to a lawsuit, aka Allen v. Milligan, to try to get fair and equitable maps for all Alabamians. You've heard the saying, as goes the South, so goes the nation. Well, a few weeks ago, President Biden made it a point to mention Alabama's maps when he spoke at the foot of the Edmund Pettus Bridge on March 5th. Biden was in Selma to commemorate the 58th anniversary of Bloody Sunday, one of the galvanizing civil rights events that led to the passage of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. He said, the new law here in Alabama, among other things, enacted a new congressional map that discriminated against black voters by failing to include what should have been a predominantly black district. The case, as you all know better than I, is in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, and my U.S. Department of Justice has joined many of you in arguing that the map violates the Voting Rights Act. Speaking of Selma, let's talk local redistricting. Dallas County Commissioners approved a new county commissioner map on March 13th. You heard that right. The county commissioners approved a new map that redrew their own district lines. Now, this isn't unusual in Alabama. Elected officials on every level are responsible for approving new maps of their own districts. So city councilors approve city council districts, county commissioners approve county district lines, and our state legislators approve statewide maps, like the congressional map that they're currently getting sued over. Dallas County had to redistrict because the 2020 census showed a loss of 5,000 people, which brings the total county population to 38,462. That was enough of a change to knock their districts out of whack, with some county commissioner districts having too many people, like districts 1 and 3, and other districts, like districts 2 and 4, being underpopulated. We want these districts to be roughly equal to each other so that everyone's vote counts the same as everybody else. This is the concept of one person, one vote. This is why participation in the census is so important. The only number you care about when you're drawing these districts is the official government-approved census number. So if those 5,000 folks chose to not fill out the census, it's like they don't exist. And that number sticks like glue until the next census, which is only once every 10 years. Sidebar, the census process has already begun. Okay, let's jump up to North Alabama. The city of Madison has a big vote coming up on May 9th. Residents of Madison are going to be deciding whether to change from a mayor-council format to a council-manager format. So most of us know the typical mayor-council setup. You have your city councilors, who are usually elected per district, and then you have your mayor, which everyone votes for. Madison is deciding if they want to change from that to a system where the city council and a city manager with the mayor having an actual vote. If the residents of Madison vote yes on the referendum, they'll downsize from their current 7 districts to 6 districts. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but it will mean a significant change to the current districts. Even if residents vote no and keep the 7 districts they currently have, the city of Madison will still need to redistrict to make sure every district has roughly the same number of people. One person, one vote. Either way, stay tuned for updates. There are a few other cases we're following that will also have an impact on the power of our vote. Our allies in North Carolina also took their maps to their Supreme Court. Less than 8 months ago, that state Supreme Court threw out those North Carolina maps as a partisan gerrymander and told the legislature to redraw the districts. So why are they back in court? Well, in November, the North Carolina Supreme Court got a makeover and the GOP gained a 5-2 majority. But the court already made a decision. They can't just change their mind again, right? I mean, it's only been 8 months. Normally, settled law is settled law, but GOP lawmakers pushed for a rehearing. Sidebar, a rehearing has only been granted 2 other times in the last 30 years. North Carolina Republicans are arguing that nothing in their state's constitution bans partisan gerrymandering. Sidebar, partisan gerrymandering is when maps are drawn to favor one party over the other. Maps that are drawn to give one party an advantage undermines the power of all of our votes. I hope you've enjoyed this informative update and tune in next time to They Better Get These Lines Right to stay connected and informed. The way maps are drawn has an impact on so many issues that we care about, such as voting rights, healthcare, criminal justice, reproductive justice, and education equality.